Hey guys, I haven't done a news video in a while, which means that I have a news video for you right now that is packed full of brand new stuff I want to show you. There's a ton of games that are on Kickstarter, on GameFound right now for you to look at and see if that would be something you enjoy. Go ahead and back it. I have a few words of warning. I have some indie spotlights. There's a lot to go over and a few looking out on what's coming up next. So we'll end on that note. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, just as an FYI, I have a little bit of a cold today, so I came home. I went to a whole nother country, Germany, for Essen Spiel. Didn't get sick at all. Came home, my daughter got me sick within a day. So it is what it is. But if there are any weird cuts or anything like that, I'm just making sure I'm not coughing in your guys' ear. So without further ado, Davy Jones' Locker, Curse of the Ghost Ship expansion. So this is an expansion that's doing actually fairly well, 56,626. From almost 1,000 backers and still 16 days to go. This is by Zachary Jacob, and he did the original Davy Jones Locker. The first one had to do with like the Kraken. This is kind of an interesting thing because it's a co-op game and it's a 2-act or a 2-part kind of thing. 1 to 5 pirates need to play this, which is kind of funny. So essentially, let's see if I can see it right here. Actually, he shows it off pretty good here. So in this one, you're going around the map and you're getting these like cursed gold and you're delivering those and trying to make sure that you gather as much as you can, because then eventually the bad ghost ship comes and you have to like siphon out the souls that it's stolen or whatever with like your lanterns. But then they can like possess you. So even if it's a co-op, you can like get taken control of and start attacking your enemies and stuff like that. So there's some really cool stuff going on there. There's some card gameplay as well when it comes to doing that. It looks like a nice change of pace for the core game. The core game has this Kraken that you're fighting, and you're like in a whirlpool, right? Getting like thrown around there, and there's the tentacles up there that you're all trying to like manage and fight and make sure you get the Kraken down there. So it's very cool. You get like deckhands that man your ships and stuff like that. And if somebody goes down, you can get their stuff. And it looks like a pretty neat little game. If you look at the prices here, the expansion is $40. That's I think a fairly fair price. And then the original is $85. And then if you want to get the both of them, it's $120. As you can see, there's a lot of support for that, which is kind of good to see. So yeah, I like this one. I think it looks pretty neat. Next up, we have KeyForge, Grim Reminders. KeyForge is like the ultimate AI game, which is kind of funny because they did it way beforehand, but essentially they have this software algorithm that makes themes and cards and decks and stuff like that. And then a human person actually goes and like looks at it and tries to form it and fine tune and stuff like that. Make sure they're not doing anything crazy. But at the end of the day, the AI gets to just kind of like say what it's doing, and sometimes it surprises them with some interesting things. So this one has essentially a memory mechanic to it, the Grim Reminders. So in other words, as these things stay in play, stuff happens, which is kind of neat. It's introducing a whole new house. This is like 240 cards, 280 cards, something like that. 250 new cards, so quite a bit there. Now, the backing of it, you can put a lot of money into this for sure. One of the interesting things I think is they have here where when they're talking about why do this, they say, hey, it's to help pay for like some of the substantial investment in game design, software design, and artwork. The software design, my understanding is that's been done. So they had to like redo it and rebuild it or whatever when they first came back on GameFound a while back, a few releases ago. But since then, my understanding is that's done. So it's kind of interesting that they're still putting that there. I don't know how much more they're doing with that. If you want to back it, $160 gives you the kind of a nice pack of it, but it has some stuff you don't necessarily need as well. You have to click into these. I like this view. I dislike the fact that I have to like click in and then it loads a modal and then the modal does that. I mean, it would almost be better to appear underneath or something like that, kind of instantly with the hidden div or something, but whatever. Either way, it has like the playmat and like a poster and stuff like that. So a lot of people are liking that sort of stuff, but you don't necessarily need that. Otherwise, $60 gets you kind of the most of what you need there. You can get several different decks. Again, it randomly makes these decks and you play these together. It's kind of weird. $75. And then, as you can see, you can get plushies and all sorts of crazy stuff. You can go really hardcore into this. And look, 170 people, $450. So some of these people love this stuff. In fact, the Get Yourself Included, 2,000 has maxed out at 10. Again, quite impressive. There's a lot of support for this, which is kind of cool. It also means that they're also doing something right. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as popular, right? So people are enjoying the game. That's awesome. The Revelation Abyss. This is at 16,500, 124 backers, 25 days ago. Obviously has not reached their funding goal. And this is one of those things where they could have put a $10,000 funding goal and then not shown you the 105, and then it'd show us back and they'd be unlocking stretch goals and stuff like that. So it is kind of always odd to see that. Definitely an indie thing, and there's a lot of rough edges around this. I think it's a neat idea. If you watch the video and skip through half of it, you can kind of actually see what the gameplay is at the kind of the second half of that. And it's fine. I think the issue is I'm not sure at this point with what everybody's backing, especially in Q4, you know, all the different things that people can put their money towards, and then combine that with the various sketchy, I'll put this as sketchy business practices from some companies on crowdfunding. And I don't know exactly how like viable a game like this is anymore on crowdfunding. What do you guys think? Is this something that can actually be made anymore? I would argue that I think it could, but not with the 105,000, but I don't think it needs that much to be made. I think it does if it wants to be made mass market in China, but I don't think that's the only way to make a board game. So I would look, if I was them, to getting the core people, getting you out over 100 people that are interested in what you're doing, look into 3D printing, look into local areas that can, make things, limit the region a little bit so that you're only focused on some targeted delivery, maybe within the EU and US, something like that. I think there's a lot of ways to make this work without the large money pool that is China. All right, now Beast, on the other hand, blow-up success, of course, $780,000, almost 5,000 backers, and still 1 day left, but just like about 2 days. So again, all these are linked in the description below. Go ahead and check them out, of course. All these but one, actually, I'll get to that. Linked in the description below. So go ahead and check out this if this is something you're interested in. It's a very cool expansion. It's adding a lot of minis. There's a lot of cool stuff for you to see. I've covered it several times, so I'm not going to go over it again. Just know that this is your last chance to get it during the campaign. In other words, without late pledging. Next up, we have Moonstone, a fantasy skirmish game. Now, I've covered Moonstone a few times, mainly for just miniatures, not necessarily a skirmish game like this. And I think this has some of the most unique, like, art style ever. Like, it's very, like, look at that freaking knight donkey. Like, very, very interesting art style, art direction, and miniatures that you're not going to get anywhere else. So if you like these kind of wacky minis, it might be something cool. Obviously, they have a lot of this like cards and stuff like this, and you know, it's an actual skirmish game you can actually play, which is cool as well. It's cool that they've done that and really fleshed out the lore and everything like that. So feel free to check it out if it's something interesting to you. It's about $84 for 3 different starter boxes that you can get, or about $96 for everything you need to play a game of it. So not too bad for a skirmish game, I would say. At 201, you actually get everything new in this group, and then at 332, you just get a whole bunch of minis, and that actually does look pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, feel free to take a look at that. Next up, we have GameFold, the first folding table designed for gaming. That's actually not true. It's not the first folding table designed for gaming. I have the alpha table. You can sometimes see it back there, though I think it's behind the gambler's chest right now. It was featured heavily on my channel. I use it all the time. It was like a piano black finish kind of thing. So the alpha gaming on it. And one of the nice things I liked about it is it could fold up only halfway and do that. And I didn't have a lot of space for gaming, not for these tables. So it came in handy a lot. I loved it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Had some very good features. It was mostly for playing board games or even tabletop skirmish games. So it was 4x6, and actually a bit more. So a 4x6 neoprene mat could fit on it. It wouldn't like overlap it, stuff like that. This one is definitely, I guess, more board game focused. It's 3x6. So the only way you're going to play Warhammer on it really at any normal scale is to double it and make it a 6x6, which now it's like huge, but it is what it is. But it does have this cool rail system that I think is very nice. So it does have a little bit of a well, which is also cool, of course. It has all these extensions for the railing, and I think it's actually really well priced. So if we see here, it's $250. That's how much I paid for the alpha game table. So that's about how much these kind of specialist tables cost. Though this one does come with the railing and stuff like that, which is honestly kind of nice. I kind of like that. So that's really nice that it gets that. I think that's super helpful. If you want like the accessories, like some of the cup holders and, you know, trays and stuff like that, then it's at $389. I almost wish there would have been a $350 and maybe just include the trays or just include the cup. I don't know. So you get like 6 shelves, 6 cup holders, 6 small trays. So you get quite a bit there, which is nice. But it is kind of a jump up. Would have been nice to do the $350. And then at $539, now you're getting the topper, so it can actually have a topper and be a normal table. This is not, I think this is very limited. I mean, it says 707, but I don't know exactly how many people are actually going to use that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a foldable table. It's not necessarily a table that you would do a lot on when it comes to leaving it out. The only thing I can see on that is you order pizza and you still have your non-miniature game in there. Again, it's a very thin well, non-miniature game that you want to set there. Maybe some meeples, mostly just cards. You can put the tabletop on there and then put the pizza on top. You could do that, I suppose. But otherwise, you get the 2 of them for $650, and then at $900, you get the 2 of them plus the toppers and everything else. So that's kind of the breakdown there. Honestly, though, I do think this is a very cool product for a lot of you guys. I think if you ever wanted a more dedicated space to play board games and actually have like the benefits of the rail system is huge, right? The little bit of the well, huge, definitely awesome, but it won't take up all of your space. You know, you could set it up, you know, where you would normally game or whatever, but then it goes away when you're not, and so you actually have that space to walk around or do whatever with, which is quite nice, I think. So anyway, yeah, feel free to check it out. I think it looks awesome. I think it's a great deal, and you get $250 for it with the rail system. I think it's actually a very good deal, very competitive. Now, alternatively, you have the Toyzone game table. This is the one I'm not linking to. This is very much going to end up badly, I think, for many of you. I'll be the first to admit if I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. In fact, I backed it at $1, and I regret giving them that $1, but I'll need a report in a year's time when they fail to do anything and they've made a whole bunch of people upset and taken all of your guys' money. I plan on doing that. I already have it penciled literally into my calendar for a year from now. So to do that video easier, if they ever decide to actually write another update, though they claim they will, but they've been claiming they will for weeks now, that if it's backer only, I'll still be able to see it. So yeah, that's just me trying to report. I wouldn't suggest giving them any money. Supposedly, they were going to make this table for $229, which is like wild and crazy. That's less than the folding table, and just trust me, that's not a thing. It looks like it's going to be fairly cheap. It's just going to be pressboard wood for the most part, with like a walnut veneer on top. Just don't expect a lot. Even if it does deliver, I'm not sure you're going to necessarily be happy with your product, which is kind of the bummer. At the end of the day, when you back something like this, you understand it's a foldable table. You have proper expectations. And then you think, well, for a foldable table, that's actually pretty good. That's how I felt about the Alpha Game Table. But when you think you're going to get something like this, you're going to be a little disappointed. In fact, even this one ended up being a little disappointing for me. And that's like a proper game table. It's the Geek and Son one, a lot better, of course. But again, all that costs money, but it means they're using quality wood and quality craftsmanship and all that kind of stuff. Don't expect that from this. All right, next up we have League of Dungeoneers expansions and second print. This one's doing very well, almost 500,000, 3,500 backers. Really, really cool to see that. The only thing I'm going to show here is their stretch goals. Again, I've showed this several times. They're continuing to unlock more art, more stuff when it comes to mechanics, like a miscast mechanic. That's super cool. I like that. A play-along tutorial, very helpful to do that. And obviously they'll spend time designing that. So yeah, they should get paid for that. Better paper quality. Like this is just becoming a better product through and through, both content and just the physical nature of it, which I think is great. Glad to see them have some success. Paragons is back out. Paragons Age of Champions. I showed this off the first time around. We'll touch on that. 14,000 raised, 175 backers. Before, as you can see, it only raised 8,000 from 74 backers. So definitely an improvement there. I think that's actually very nice to see, though it is still pretty indie. It has 4 days left to go. I think part of it is just standing out as a card game these days is very hard because it's the latest like buzz. Everybody wants to have a card game, of course. This is not a collectible card game like that, which also hurts it because it means collectors aren't interested in it to sell anything. It would just be gamers to play, which isn't necessarily what the market is for a lot of these games. $78 gets you the deluxe edition, so it's actually fairly cheap if you just want the game. $43, I think that's quite nice. Anytime you get over 50, I start getting a little iffy on some card games, but this one, for the art style that it is, it's not AI or anything like that. It looks very nice. They are selling their neoprene mats like at a legit cost, which I super appreciate. Neoprene mats actually aren't that expensive. They are more expensive than cardboard, obviously, but depending on the game and how much you're making, they are actually fairly cheap to make. It's why Chip Theory Games can replace all the cardboard with the neoprene mat and not like go out of business. Like they're doing smart business. They're giving you a quality product that you like, that feels quality, and they're not breaking the bank on it either. Though a lot of people sell neoprene mats for quite a bit, you can get a very nice margin on neoprene mat sales because the general tendency is to sell them high and people think that that's what it costs. But not really. So $871, they'll still be making money off this. This is just a little neoprene mat that they're doing that. And I think that's awesome. That's super cool to see. That's great. So, they're not like trying to like make a whole bunch of money off this. They're just trying to make their game and offer it at a reasonable price. And I like that. I appreciate the respect that shows the backers and shows that they're focused on making a game and not necessarily just making a great paycheck. Hopefully they make a great paycheck too, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a balance. Or next up, they have The Witcher Path of Destiny. This comes out in 4 days. Obviously, I will have an unboxing tomorrow for you guys, so if you want to see a detailed look at that, feel free to subscribe, do all that kind of stuff so that YouTube shows you the video. And then, of course, I will have a review as well, so I'll let you know exactly what I think of the game within 4 days. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully I enjoy it. All right, next up we have Burn the Witch. This is a social deduction game. This one caught my eye, mainly because of the theme and art style I think look great. It's a single artist here. They have it right up front. I think that's awesome. I'm assuming she's Ukrainian based off the blue and yellow, which again, super cool. They have a great, I don't know how to say it, like just the theme and the style from that area is just, it speaks to me on a whole nother level. I love it. I love the like kind of more grim, more gritty, like really cool low fantasy setting that a lot of that kind of stuff comes from that area. Love it. I think it's great. So this one actually has some neat things too, where you're casting your ballots, save or burn, and then of course you're trying to look at who the executioner is voting for and stuff like that, and it's just based off of like a certain mark or something like that. I think it looks pretty cool. It's a nice twist on it, so if you like Werewolf or Secret Hitler or something like that, this is probably something you want to check out. And again, $40, not too bad. They have some add-ons and stuff like that too, and of course they tell you exactly how the game plays, which is awesome. I really like the focus on that. So it also has this expansion for $25 just called Houses and Heretics. Comes with some houses, come with some heretics. Essentially just asymmetric powers you can use, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that ends up coming to $29 for the main game, and then $48 for the kind of whole shebang of it, which is honestly not too bad at all. The only thing I'll say is, personal pet peeve of mine, I would prefer more descriptive wording than this. The fire starter and flame stroker or stoker. I mean, like, I get that, like, it's thematic and all that, but at the end of the day, it just makes it to where it's slightly more confusing on what's included. It would have been great just to say, hey, this is like everything versus this is the base game or core game or whatever. Okay, of course I have to mention over 2 million raised, 8,885 backers, 41 hours to go. So again, this is like the last 2 days. Link in the description below. Deep Rock Galactic, Spice Rig, and Biome expansions, plus of course the reprint of the core game. One of the things I will say is obviously with 8,000 backers, they're doing something right. Somebody very much enjoys it. In fact, from what I heard, the gameplay is actually quite good, and it's based off of an IP that also is quite good. And so both the board game and video game are beloved by many people, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And one thing I will say is it is a little bit on the pricier side compared to some of the deals we've seen before. Now, one of the things is, one of the comments I always hear is that the production quality is very good on this. In other words, it's a very nice game, like the fit and feel of everything, and you know, just like just the quality of the miniatures and the tokens and everything else. just seems very nice. And of course, it's a good gameplay too. And these expansions are fairly big box expansions. Here, if we go over here and kind of see some of the difference here, you'll see there's a ton of new stuff to do, right? That's just this one, but that's just Space Rig, right? And then if you look at Biome, again, more stuff to do there. And they're not even breaking down like, hey, here's all the different like minis and stuff like that. I mean, like they do, but it's not like they're like trying to make it even seem like it's a lot, like kind of in an obvious way. It just is a fairly big amount of game content added to it. Each one is €80, or approximately $85. So that means that both of them together are about $148 if you get some savings in there a little bit. Yeah, well, that's obviously a lot for 2 expansions, right? So if you need the actual core game plus expansions, you get it at about $200 for just the, because there's a little bit more there too. So then the core game and all that, $248. But then it includes like a whole bunch of other stuff. So like, again, like the expansions and stuff like this, kind of all over the place, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to, like, the thing you want to, is if you don't have it yet, Newcomer Collector's Choice, $347. Now, 2 Kickstarters total, $347, not that bad. It's not. But just as an FYI, this stuff isn't necessarily like the cheapest stuff ever, but it is not the cheapest made stuff ever either. It's actually, looks like a good game, looks like a good quality thing. I just know that sometimes it's like, oh, hey, here's 2 expansions, $160. And people are like, I don't know about that. It seems like a lot. But they add a whole lot of new gameplay too, which is also super cool. And again, you can see the quality looks really nice. It looks good. That's awesome. And again, I'm just glad people are happy with it. That's being made. It's being delivered. People are getting what they paid for. What a concept. That's lovely. The Night Cage, Shrieking Hollow. This might be something I actually jump in on. I'm actually kind of pumped because I wanted to get the previous game. And this one's actually doing quite well. 5 days ago, almost 3,000 backers, 200,000 plus raised. That's very good for a game like this. With this heavy of a theme, not too bad. Not too bad. So this offers several new things. And they kind of actually specify it here, which is kind of nice. Obviously how to play it, right? But then if you come down here, and you obviously stretch goals, stuff like that, you kind of see what they're offering here. So $25, again, not too bad for an expansion. You get brand new kind of tiles that can happen, which is kind of cool. Different enemies, and then of course the other big bad enemy, plus the hollow subboard, and then you also have this Endbringer on the top of the tiles and stuff like that. So some very cool stuff, plus some new card monster guides, stuff like that. $55 gets you the acrylic version, which has very nice tokens, and even these giant ones are acrylic, which is super cool. I actually really dig that. That's kind of unexpected. So $65 gets you the Shrieking Hollow plus that. So for $65, you essentially get the core game plus the new expansion that they're offering, and so you can kind of play that against all the different enemies and stuff like that. And then $145, this is actually kind of tempting. It's everything in acrylic. So it's the expansion in acrylic, it's the core game in acrylic. That's 101 acrylic tiles and monsters. So that's not bad at all. You can see some of them are actually fairly big. Very, very cool to see that. And you also get the metal figures or metal minis. Now, one thing to know is that this is not obviously the best. You can even see in the picture the bent bases and stuff like that. I'm assuming it's just kind of a soft pewter that they're making it out of. It almost fits with the theme though, so I'm kind of okay with it. But you know, just know that going in. It's not going to be like some crazy stuff. Or we can just add the add-ons here, but honestly, it's almost better just to get this then, if that's the case. Unless you already have the core game, but then you want to upgrade certain parts of it. Either way, looks pretty awesome, I think. We also have Erune Light and Darkness. This is an expansion to Erune. I covered Erune way back when, so you might remember that. And obviously, 1,000 backers for 48 hours, so they're above that, 178,000. They're definitely doing well. And honestly, it looks like a cool game. I like it. I kind of wish it was almost on the Tebaru system, because it is one of those games where you don't have to play with an app, which is awesome. You can play with an overlord, or you can play with an app. But you roll your dice, and then you have to tell the app what you rolled, kind of thing. That sort of thing is what the Tebaru system kind of, because it tracks the dice rolls, so it knows what you rolled. That's the benefit of that, because it is constantly updating the app, and the app tells you what to update, and then you update the game table, and then you do stuff there, and then you update the app, and so it's that kind of back and forth that I don't tend to like. But again, you can do it as Overlord, 1 versus many, which I do appreciate. The leveling system seems very cool. The app also has like voice activated stuff, but I went back to their original campaign, looked at some of the feedback on like, hey, people played the game and there was a lot of bugs, a lot of issues. And one of the problems with voice activated is you can accidentally set it off too. For instance, sometimes it's like, kill all the rats is the trigger, you know, to end the quest or whatever. But you might be like, we need to kill all the rats. And it's like, did you complete the quest? And it's like, no, app, calm down. You know, so there's that sort of thing a little bit that can happen, or it mishears you or stuff like that. But I don't think you have to do it that way. I didn't look farther than that. I just know that some people have said that there were some issues with multiple chests, with the commands, stuff like that. But other people seem to be okay with it. So FYI, it's about $94. Again, for the expansion. Otherwise, you're doing $227 for the core game. That's an expensive core game for sure. And then that still have to add the expansion on as an add-on in Kickstarter. There's not like a pledge that includes it, which is kind of a bummer, I think. But either way, that's available as well. And again, still 16 days to go. Now, Secrets of the Lost Tomb Epic Edition 10th year anniversary. I showed this off before. The 10th anniversary of these things are becoming very popular. It's by Everything Epic. They've done a lot of campaigns that people have very much enjoyed. So this one's coming up here in 9 days, about 10 days. I'll cover it once it's live again. So feel free to check out that video once it becomes available. And of course, The Old King's Crown, A Tale of Royalty, Rebels, and Ruses. That comes out October 24th. So in like a week and a half from time of posting this video. Almost 6,000 followers. It's a strategic board game for 1 to 4 players. An empty throne, a crumbled kingdom, and the heirs that would claim it will... What crown will you wear? I love the art style. Already looks cool. The cards look cool. See a little bit of the gameplay. Again, we'll know more. I'll dig into this once it's actually up on the 24th. So again, stay tuned for that. And guys, that's it. That's the video. That is everything that I've been looking at since coming back from Spiel. When it comes out, there are some big things coming out in 2024. I will be covering those in a separate video in like just a few months, maybe like a month and a half from now. So trust me, you're going to want to get on that. I always do a big video at the end of the year showing off all the cool stuff coming out next year that I'm looking at. So definitely getting pumped for that. Already adding to the list, and it's going to be something pretty special. Again, everything is linked down in the description below. Feel free to check that out. And without further ado, have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.